Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole from Legartis, and I'm really happy to see you all in today's webinar, Prompt Engineering for Legal Professionals. Please note, I already mentioned it, you can ask questions in the Q&A section, which you can find at the bottom of your Zoom browser, since the chat functionality will not work. So if you have questions, please reach out to us through the Q&A possibility. To get more insights into the AI world and especially into prompting techniques, I am really excited about the two women next to me. A warm welcome to Vanessa Amann. She's our legal product engineer and drives the Legartis AI precision through prompting. On the other hand, I would like to warmly welcome Katharina Lechner. She's head of product at Legartis and oversees the legal AI landscape and understands how to bring added value to a legal AI product. At this moment, I would like to hand over the webinar to the two women, and I hope, of course, that you all enjoy today's session.
Thank you very much, Nicole, and very, very warm and sunny welcome from me today as well, at least here in Zurich. So we have prepared some very exciting content for you, at least we hope. We'll start with a short introduction into the whole large language model landscape. Then we will deep dive into prompting itself, and where we will show you a real life scenario from our prompting, how we do it, and what are the issues that you can encounter. And in the third part, we will elaborate a little bit on, okay, so based on this, what are really the skills that a legal prompt engineer needs, and how you as a company who's thinking about, okay, should I invest into these skills or should I leave this to solution provider? How should you make a decision? And of course, as Nicole already said, please add your questions. We will have time for them so that you can get the most value out of this. So let me start with a very short introduction into the large language model landscape. So why we are doing this is to make sure that, when you're having conversations about AI, about language models, that, you know some basic terms that you can have a really good informed conversation. So at the beginning, when we started to hear about GPTs in November 2022, all we heard was large language models, large language models. But now when you watch the news or you read, I don't know, posts on LinkedIn, it's all about Gen AI. So the difference between these two terms is that Gen AI is a broader term, which means that essentially it can generate any type of content. So this can be text, images, music, you name it, but it doesn't focus only on text. But it does generate content. Now, large language models also generate content, so they are a subset of Gen AI, but they only focus on text. Yeah, so these were the first ones, and now we are enhancing the whole landscape with other formats of information. Yeah. So another perspective here to understand why large language models really brought that hype and why it's not just the hype, but it really changed everything, is to understand like the amount of data that these models were trained on. So I'm sure you are all fans of Harry Potter books. I sure am. So if you take all of the Harry Potter books, there's around 1 million words in them. And if you take the large language models, and here we are not even talking about the biggest ones, the amount of data that they were trained on is, if you multiply that million by a million. Yeah? So if you increase it by a factor of million, that's the amount of data that the models were trained on. And I think we stopped sharing. Yes, now we're back. Yeah. So another term that you hear often, I'm sure, is the term foundation model or foundational model. And we indeed have a lot of foundational models. Basically, nowadays, all the big players have their models, and on a monthly basis or like very regularly, they are creating new and new versions that have even better and better skills and capabilities. So we have the Google Geminis, the Meta's Llamas, we have OpenAI, of course, with all of its models. So there's really plenty of models to choose from. And how we get to these foundational models is that we basically take all the data. So we decide what data we train it on. It can be any different formats that we already said. And then we train it on and we have foundational models. But this is not where it stops, because these are just base models. And in order to really get the most out of them, in most of the cases, they get adapted. So this is a process of that is called fine-tuning. And here you specify the task which the model should perform well in. So a very good example is ChatGPT. Yeah, so we know that the base models, the foundational models are the GPTs, but ChatGPT was specifically further fine-tuned, adapted to be good in chatting. This also can mean that maybe it doesn't perform that well in some other tasks. So I don't know, if you give it something to classify, then maybe it's not that good, but it is really good in what it was adapted for. Now, a lot of models are adapted for multiple use cases, but it's also very important for you to understand what models you actually work with when you work with them. And now I will hand over to Vanessa, and she will show you some real prompting.
Thank you, Katarina. And sorry about that. I think my internet is a bit weak today. So,
It's
yes.
too warm for it.
Yeah, that's probably it wants to go swimming and not doing a webinar. Well, so today I will do a deep dive with you into our prompting solution here at Legartis. And I will start with some theory first, so you know later on what I will talk about. So let's start with some general tips. You can also use those to chat or use common models, for example, like ChatGPT. So first of all, start simple. Begin with giving the model a basic task and then add complexity as needed when you see how the model reacts. Try to separate more complex tasks into simpler subtasks and then add detail when you see how the model performs. It's important to give a model direct instructions. Use explicit commands like write, summarize, or correct to steer the model into a clear direction. This way it performs much more likely how you want it to. So details are everything. Add specific details to sharpen the focus of the response. For example, the simple prompt, write a poem, one can modify to write the haiku about autumn leaves. This way you tell the model exactly what you want from it and you leave no room for interpretation. And lastly, try to avoid impreciseness. Make sure your prompts are clear and concise. So another example, explain prompt engineering briefly and avoid being descriptive. I would reformulate to explain prompt engineering in 2 to 3 sentences for a high school student. This way, you give it a clear scope, so 2 to 3 sentences, because briefly can be interpreted anyway, and you give it a clear audience, so a high school student, because again, avoid being descriptive isn't really a concise and clear direction for the model to use. You will find the link with other good prompting tips at the bottom of this page, and we'll also post some links for you in the chat. So here are some prompting techniques. The most commonly known one is zero-shot prompting. This is what you all do and probably do very well. So it's used for easy tasks and for models with large-scale training. For a zero-shot prompt, you use no examples or demonstrations for the model. You just give it a direct instruction to perform a certain task or answer a question. So a good example prompt for a C# prompt would be, why is the sky blue? Or correct the following text for grammar mistakes. Of course, with a C# prompt, pretty soon you will reach the boundaries of a model. So then more complex prompting is needed. What we will do today, we will utilize future prompting. This is used for much more complex tasks. And with future prompting, you provide the model with examples or demonstrations, which enables this in-context learning, which is very important. And you steer the model in a better direction. There are, of course, also a broad variety of other prompting techniques like chain of thought or prompt chaining. And because of time restrictions, I refrain from going into that, but here are some most commonly used techniques. You can Google them later on. So today we will do a very specific use case. We want to answer a specific question from a contract. For that, we'll need to follow 3 simple steps. Step 1 is to find the relevant context. To answer a question or a prompt, the model needs context. So this can be a subset of contracts or some chunks of text, which contain all the relevant information the model needs to answer the question. To find this context, there's a variety of techniques. For example, a simple keyword search, a semantic search, or you can use different classification models. In our case here today, we already completed that step. So we build a test set, and I will explain later on what that exactly is. So as a second step, you of course write your prompt. But to ensure very high quality, like we at Legartis here do, you need to test that prompt. So here, step 3 comes into play. You test your prompt to ensure its quality. And then, if the quality isn't good enough, you go back and rewrite your prompt. Test it again, and this you do that as long as it takes to reach a high quality. So to test a prompt, you can either use some documents, or, as in our case, you use a test set. A test set is basically a set of contracts a team of legal professionals went through. They searched for the appropriate context and they logged the correct answer already. So this way you have a basically very long list of text segments with the correct answer already logged, which you can compare your prompt to. So for a future prompt, depending on the model, you need a certain template. Here you see on the left side the template we will use today, and on the right side the terminology and brief explanations. So let's start at the beginning, shall we? So on the left side, at the very beginning, you see the instruction. So you tell the model, hey, you're a legal professional. Your task today is to answer the question based on the context and the examples we give you. So you give the model a very specific task or instruction, plus you add additional information to steer it in the right direction. Then in the dark blue box, you see the examples. So as I said before, in future prompting, you give the models examples so it can perform better. Here we give it 2 to 4 examples with yes or no answers already written out. And lastly, in the light blue box, you see what we put at the end of the prompt. So for once, we tell the model where it can find the context. In our case, it's chunks of texts of contracts in our test sets. You tell, of course, the question you want answered. So that's the input data. And you give it the output indicator. That's a type of format of the output of the answer you want. So, but enough theory. Let's dive into our prompting exercise for today. I will very quickly switch my screen so you can see our prompt library here at Legartis. So, as I said before, today a very specific use case, right? You want to answer a question in contracts. This we will do with a few short prompts, and I will prompt live with you together here in our prompt library at Legartis. I already filled out some basic necessities like unique ID, a name, I chose a model, and I also chose some test set cases. So today we will do automatic renewal or extension of a contract. And for this, we will build a prompt. But first, I thought it would be funny to see how the model would react to a zero-shot prompt, so a very basic prompt. So let me copy it in here. So with this zero-shot prompt, we basically tell the model again, hey, legal professional, please answer the question based on the context, please answer yes or no. And here's the question. So what we want to achieve today is, does the contract automatically renew or extend itself? For that, I already chose 5 test set cases. Normally, of course, you would test against more in the hundreds, but to save some time, we'll do it on 5. I chose 5 exemplary test set cases, which will best showcase what we want to achieve today. So let's let it run through once. So now you see here our quality matrix. To ensure very high quality, and if you want to be really rigorous, which we have at Legartis of course are, you want to look, the internet is lagging a bit. So you want to look at certain quality matrices. There are a lot of them, but let's look at the most important ones. So here we have the success rate, which is currently 4 out of 5, and we have F1 score of 0.89. This, of course, already pretty good, but we have to keep in mind that you already selected 5 test set cases. So normally you would test against 100 and the score would probably be low with a zero-shot prompt. But again, we want to go higher, right? So let's do a few shot prompts. So I will delete it here and I will copy in a template I wrote in the morning to save some time. So here we go. So let's explain to you briefly. So first we have an instruction again. Then there are 4 examples. We have 2 yes and 2 no examples. And then in the end, you see again the output indicator and the question and the context. So let's talk briefly about those 4 examples. So when choosing those examples, it's important to choose sentences which are most commonly used and occurring in a contract to answer a question or cover a topic. So this way you can ensure that the model works properly also then in real life, which of course you want, because of course here we are still in a testing environment. So let's look at an example. So let's see here in the first example, right? So if we read that, the context is it shall automatically renew for successive periods of 12 months unless either party terminates with not less than 3 months written notice prior to the end of the initial term. So the contract will automatically renew itself, but the very strong keywords, and we have to think that those models are based linguistically on also keywords, of course, would be automatically, which is missing here, but still the contract will automatically renew itself. So this is a very good example to give the model. So you tell it, hey, this is a yes answer, so the contract will automatically renew itself, but the word automatically or automatic does not appear in the context. So let's let it run again. So let's see how the model reacts. Let's hope it does better. If not, we have to add maybe some more instructions. So now again, the model is comparing its answers to the answers of the test set to see how it performs. So we're already at a pretty good success rate, 4 out of 5. Let's see if it gets better. Okay, no. So we have the same success rate as beforehand. So now let's go search for the problem. So now on the left side, you see the context found in a document. On the right side, you also see a document at the context, and you see the expected raw value or the answer the model gives us. If it's green, it's the same, so it's correct. If it's red, something is wrong. So, yes, here's the wrong answer, basically. So normally, of course, you test against hundreds of test cases, so you can search for a pattern in the wrong answer. Here now, I think the problem is the legal terminology. So let's try and give the model some more instructions, like you would, for example, give a junior lawyer to see how it reacts then. So I will add a very brief instruction at the very beginning of the prompts. So what we do now basically is we tell the model, so I will mark it for you, hey, the term renewal period is a good indicator for an automatic renewal, but, and this is important, it doesn't automatically mean that it has to be an automatic renewal, but it's a good indicator, so please take it into consideration. So you give the model extra information, you explain it basically a terminology like you would a junior lawyer. And now let's see how it fares with that extra information. So the test set is again running against the prompts. And this is what a legal engineer does basically. A legal engineer or a legal prompt engineer constructs a first future prompt, and then he or she tests it against the test sets, and he does that again and again until he's satisfied with the results. So wonderful. As you see now, we have a perfect success rate, 5 out of 5, and we have a FF1 score of 1. This is the best outcome. A FF1 score can be anything between 0 and 1, and of course, 1 is perfect. So now, of course, we only tested against 5 test set cases. Normally, I would, of course, run now the future prompt against the whole test set, which is, in our case, a few hundred test set cases, but it takes quite some time. So I did that beforehand, and we can look at the results now together. So I will switch my screen a last time. So we can look at the results our model compiled this morning. Perfect, thank you, Katerina. So now this is the results of the future prompt we did today together against the whole test set. You see the success rate, 102 out of 111 were correct, and the F1 score is 0.96, which is very good. And this is a result we can live with. This is a very high quality result, which is important. So I hope you all learned today something and found interesting, and I will hand over back to Katerina.
Mute. Yes, so let's now, well, we've seen how real prompting works, like real professional prompting. And now we will look into, okay, so what are really the skills that now Vanessa also demonstrated that a good, successful prompt engineer needs to have. So, number one skill, we are working with text. So this is one of the big benefits for legal professionals, that they are really good in working with text. So you have to have a deep understanding of, language, what is the composition of sentences, of semantics, linguistics, so that you can kind of have that empathy for text inputs and outputs, so to be able to ask the right questions and then be able to analyze the output that the large language model gave you. The second skill that we find really important, of course, we are in the legal industry, so you need to understand legal concepts, the nuances, and this is also something that Vanessa demonstrated when she showed you the few-shot prompting, where you have to select good examples, right? So you have to select examples that really represent the varieties of different formulations that you can see, because only this way you can ensure that the quality will really work on a large variety of contracts and not just one type of formulation for a particular clause. Of course, you need to be interested in AI, in large language models. Like, there are new prompting techniques almost every week. There are new models coming out very often. So here also you should be interested in staying on top of all the information that's coming in, being able to experiment, try out things, and in general be interested in the evolution in this field. You need to be creative, sometimes very much. So in some cases, it's simple, it works straight away. And there are cases where you will struggle and you will need to adapt what you are asking, adapt your prompt, so that you are able to get to the quality that you want to get. And of course, this you do in iterations, so you learn from every single case that you do. You should expect a lot of trial and errors and be very patient and invest the necessary time and resources. So you have to count with that, that it really takes time. So now that we know what a successful legal engineer should have, what are the skill set, we thought a little bit about the use case of, okay, you are a company and you are thinking you have an AI solution in place. And let's say you're thinking, okay, should I now invest in-house into building up this skill set, or should I delegate that and leave that with your solution provider? So what are the benefits of building in-house legal prompt engineers? So number one, it's an investment into the future. So prompting is here to stay with us. It is a very, very important skill. So what you learn will help your company stay relevant in the future. You, of course, if skills are there already, and you're good at it, you can react very quickly. And we know that speed in the current market conditions, that decides the winners. So you can do whatever you want. You basically are the decision maker. You are independent from another party, so you are not dependent on the solution provider's resources. And here it really comes to the trust. So you have to select your solution provider wisely, of course, someone whom you can trust. And well, the benefit then for you, if you decide to do it yourself, that you are really independent and there, well, yeah, you decide for yourself and you allocate your resources, you budget them as you want. You control the quality of your results, you define them. So we internally, as you saw, we are very strict about the quality, and we have some metrics defined that we want to achieve to make sure that our solution really works, that it's something that you can trust. And on your side, of course, if you don't know, or you don't know what your solution provider does and how, and this is not clear, then of course for you, it's really can be beneficial to be able to set these high quality standards. Then on the con side, it is a high investment. We already discussed this a lot. It's trial and error. It needs investment into time and have the necessary resources. And of course, also internal needs change fast. So part of the role needs to be very good in prioritizing, in project management, because otherwise you will not be able to get the value that you hope to get from that investment that you make into it. So it's very important to always focus on things that matter. Even though you are independent in a way, most likely at the beginning you will not create a huge team, but you will start with 1-2 people, which means that there is a danger of fluctuation. Of course, it's still the knowledge is within or in these 2 people, let's say. So then you need to make sure that you distribute this knowledge, that you also educate and level up the rest of your organization. And the quality of the results may not be consistent. So this we also saw in some cases, the quality is good right away. In some cases it's not. So you need to be able to do a lot of testing and get to those quality results. So this is it from my side. Thank you very much. And now we will get to Q&A, and I will hand over to Nicole.
Yeah, thanks to the 2 of you. It was impressive, or it is always impressive to me, how we try to bring quality into our AI. And I really hope you enjoyed this also. Of course, I'm from marketing. We also need some results. So I'm really happy to come with this appeal to you. We have a summer discount, so you can test very easily our legal AI for contract analysis. Just for the ones who said, I would like to test it for a while, but we have some hurdles to come over, this is a really good occasion to go for legal AI. So I will provide you the link where you can directly book a meeting with us and have a chat so that we know more about your pains around contracts. On the other hand, we would also like to know from you if you like this webinar. So I will provide you with a survey, if I can find it, just a second. It's like gone. Just a minute. Well, here we go. So it would be great if you could answer the following question. Would you like to gain even more insights into prompting techniques? You see there 4 different answers. It would be gorgeous if you would provide us an answer here so that we learn from you also. So the results come in. It's really interesting also for Katarina and Vanessa to see if you want to enhance your prompting technique skills. How does your future look like? Most probably. So I think there are still results coming in. Still a few, and I think we take it as a last chance to join. Okay, I share the results and everyone can see the results. Maybe Katarina, you want to elaborate on that a bit, what you see? Yeah, you're muted.
Yes, so I think it is very clear that this topic resonates a lot. That we should. I mean, I'm happy to see that you want to learn more about complex prompting techniques as well, because there's of course way more than what we are showing you now. And of course, then we will think about some other content and materials, how we can help you with that.
Yeah. And what we also see, of course, people want to learn how to prompt also with ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, etc., because it is a tool that it's easy, accessible, and applicable. But we are also super happy to give you some more workshops or education on prompting techniques. So thanks for the feedback. Let's move to the Q&A. At the moment, I just see one question. So this is from Jenny, and he wants to know, or she wants to know, what conditions are needed to be set up for such a prompt library? So maybe this is a technological question. Don't know who wants to answer it. Vanessa?
Thank you, Nicole. Since more technical, I think Katarina would be the better person to answer it, honestly.
From my side, I'm trying to understand what is meant by conditions exactly. So I will try to answer it, but if you can, maybe also you can, Jenny, elaborate on or Jenny elaborate on this. So for us, what you saw, this kind of prompt library, it's one of the main tools that we use to make sure that what our AI tests or checks in your contracts really works. So this is one of the most important tools, and basically this is what we do internally for everything that we provide out of the box. But also if you as a customer do want to invest in prompting skills and want to perform this yourself, then this is also an option. And yeah, I'm really not sure what is meant by the conditions. Maybe Nicole or Vanessa, you understand more?
No, but we can reach out to him or her by email, so we can clarify.
Happy to answer that in more detail as well.
Yeah. Okay, then of course we have. Yeah, we will share the presentation. You will get it. Then there is another one. When using ChatGPT, Claude, or other models, how would you treat security and privacy concerns? What are ways to mitigate any unwanted sharing of confidential information? So who wants to answer this?
I think I can answer this. So on our side, what we do is that we work with different cloud providers with different levels of security. So depending where you are, you probably have some internal IT security rules on in what regions is it okay for you to store data, and in what is the cloud provider that you internally use. So we have models, for example, that we privately host on our private cloud. So there you get the like full maximum security. We also use some other models that are hosted on AWS or Azure, like the main cloud providers. So it really depends on what your conditions are, and we are able to accomplish them and only use the models where that are hosted in places where that you are okay with. So there it's really a variety of options, and it all depends on your company standards.
I hope the question is answered by that. If not, you can send us a follow-up question. There is another question regarding languages at Legartis. Are there other languages than German and English supported?
Yes, so I can also answer that. So currently, with our solution, you can review German and English contracts, and as we speak, we are working on French as a new language, and this is something that will also be available very soon. So French is another one. In the future, we will invest in other languages too. Of course, it depends on the demand from our customers. So we are constantly monitoring what other languages would be useful.
And yeah, my follow-up question would be, which language understands Legartis AI best? So the strength about or what is the skill set of the Legartis AI language understanding?
Vanessa, maybe you want to elaborate?
Yes, of course. So your question was which language is working the best, basically?
Right.
Okay. So, well, actually, German and English are pretty together. So German is a bit better, which makes sense because English is just difficult sometimes because you have those very, very long texts, right? Those very long sentences in English contracts because it's common law. So That's why we perform a little bit better on German. But as I said, it's very close together.
So here, maybe I can just add up that like we really have those quality standards. So English also needs to, well, it also performs according to our quality standards. So there is really no difference for you.
Okay, another follow-up question.
French as well.
How do you ensure the AI quality at Legartis? I mean, we have seen like you have these test sets. And what is for you, Vanessa, a good AI result? When are you satisfied? Which percentage of?
Well, in the office, they will probably say never because I'm always nagging about the quality. Percentage-wise, at least 90%. As you said, as you saw beforehand, we reached a F1 score of 0.96. It is, of course, very good, and we're not going really lower than that. And also the performance of our other AI tools. So, for example, the classification, the classifier, and we strive to go never under 0.9.
Okay. You know, I'm not sure. There is someone who has like the hand risen. I'm not sure. Jonathan Hetzig. I give you like the allowance to talk. I'm not sure if this is really. Yeah, no, I think it was a mistake. So then I think we have answered all of your questions. If any other questions arise, we are here for you. Just please reach out to us, and from our side, we will now go and have some lunch, I think. We thank you all for participating. We will send you the webinar presentation by email, and we wish you all a great afternoon. Thanks so much also to Vanessa and Katharina for this impressive webinar. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
Also from my side, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.